Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another Jummah series reminder at the University of Michigan, Dearborn. Many of us college students, we have this grand plan, right? We're gonna get a job, save up some money, inshallah, and then we're gonna meet the love of our life, our Cinderella Prince Charming story, right? We're gonna fall in love. We're gonna have magical, life and everything like that. And again, there's nothing wrong with this. Again, it's normal human being. Love is something that is very, it's something universal. It's something even talked about in Islam, and actually the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged, his companions and us to pursue love as well, but in the most purest and in good ways. The Prophet ﷺ used to say that a man marries a woman for 4 reasons, and the one who marries upon good deed, good religion on deen, then he has succeeded in life. And we have heard of many other hadith and or quotes like, the one who marries a good person, half of his deen is complete, and so many other things like this. Regardless, when we look for somebody, and even in the hadith, right, sometimes we look for the most prettiest woman, or the person who has the most, or the prettiest, or the handsomest guy, or the person who has the most wealth, or prestige and family and all that. And there's nothing wrong with looking for these things. These are things you need to look out for, of course. But the main thing when you're looking for someone, of course, is the deen. That again, this is going to be the father or the mother of my children. Are they going to help me raise my kids, inshallah, to become good people? Are they going to be good to my parents? How are they to their own parents and everything? And subhanallah, I want to show the importance of finding someone important, right? Because this story is, it's not very well known, but because of if this story did not happen, you could say the entire existence of Islam today could have changed. That's how profound the story of marriage will be, what I'm going to talk about. And the story goes that there was a young man, he didn't have a lot of money, and he used to travel, and he used to live off whatever he could get, right? He had very, very little money. He used to travel and everything. And he was a very good Muslim, very fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once while he was traveling, he got very hungry. And his hunger was getting stronger and stronger. And again, he didn't have a lot of money or a lot of wealth. And while he was walking around, he came upon this orchard. And out of pure hunger, he grabbed an apple from the orchard and he took a few bites, right? And he's eating this a few bites and he's feeling a little filled now. But after he's taken a few bites, he just realized that he just took this apple from someone else's orchard without their permission. And he felt so bad. And he said, really, that I'm not going to leave this orchard until I find the owner of this orchard and I ask him for his forgiveness. And this man, he went around looking until he came upon a house, which he deduced as the owners, and he knocked on the door. An elderly gentleman came and he says, can I help you? Again, he didn't recognize who this person was. And he said, I'm a traveler and all this and all that, and I was overcome by hunger and I didn't have a lot of money and everything, and because of my hunger, I accidentally, without realizing it, took one of your apples and I took a few bites for it, and I'm coming here asking you for your forgiveness because I took your property. The man, he stood there for a second and he said, you know what, I am not going to forgive you. The owner said, I am not going to forgive you for taking this apple, and I'm going to get this back from you on the day of judgment. And with that, he closed the door. Now, of course, some of you guys might be thinking, what's going on just because of an apple and everything? But this young man, when he heard this, he stood at that door and he started crying and crying and crying. And the man, he came back a little, let's say this was around maybe 12 o'clock or something, just hypothetically. But the man, he came around later in the afternoon, around Asr or Maghrib time. And the young man who was still there crying. And he said, please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me. And the elderly gentleman, the owner of the orchard, he said, very well, I will forgive you, but on one condition. He said, very well, what is your condition? He said, you will marry my daughter. Now this young man was astonished, right? Like, okay, marriage, what this is coming out of nowhere and everything. But the elderly gentleman, he said, but there is something you should know about my daughter, right? I want you to marry. My daughter is blind, she is deaf, and cannot speak. I want you to imagine, being with someone who cannot see you, who cannot hear you, who cannot even speak to you, and living with them for the rest of your life. Like I imagine, like again, it's family and everything, but I imagine being asked to marry someone like this, right? You wouldn't be able to, process it. You would say no, obviously. But the young man realized that, look, I'm going to be on this life for how many long years? And even if I have to suffer and everything, it's this suffering on this world is more worth it than being punished on the day of judgment. So the young man said, you know what? I agreed to this marriage. So they set up a date, and the owner and then the young man, they set up a date, and the wedding day came, and they did the nikah and everything, and then it was time for the young man, to meet his wife for the first time, and he was standing out the door, and he's like, what am I gonna do? How are we gonna communicate? Everything, she can't speak, she can't hear me. Does she even know she's getting married, and everything? And he knocked on the door, but he's like, Assalamu alaikum, can I come in? But in his mind, he's like, wait, why did I just say that? Because she can't even hear me. And all of a sudden, he hears, wa alaikum assalam, please do enter. Now, he was taken aback, right? And he opened the door, and he said, when he opened the door, he saw the most beautiful young lady standing there, and he couldn't believe it. Like some reports say, he said that I thought it was one of the servants from Jannah that was standing there. That's how, again, the point was to show how beautiful she was. And he walked in, and then she turned to him, and she started talking to him, right? And is talking to him, focused on him, like a normal conversation. And he's just standing back, shocked, right? And then his new wife is kind of picking. I was like, what's wrong? He said, your father told me that you were blind, you were deaf, and you couldn't speak. But here you are standing right in front of me. You're speaking. You can hear me. You can see me. What's going on? And the young woman, she understood her father too. She said, my father did not lie to you. When he said I was blind, he was saying that I don't look at things I am not supposed to. When he said I'm deaf, he said I don't listen to things that I'm not supposed to. And he says when I couldn't speak, he meant that I do not speak things that I'm not supposed to speak of. And the young man, when he heard this, he got so happy, and he started smiling and he laughing. And these two people, they lived a wonderful life. Now you're wondering, okay, why is this story important, right? These two people gave birth to a son, and this son, you might know him as Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa, the founder of the Hanafi fiqh, which many Muslims follow. It was the very first madhab created, one of the first ones, and one of the biggest ones still to this day, that put so much emphasis and all that. Like everyone has heard of Imam Abu Hanifa. And this is the story of his parents. So my young brothers, my young sisters, to those of you who are looking for marriage, or even if you're not, but looking for later on, look for good things. Look for beauty in your wife. Yes, look for wealth and all that. But remember that the most important thing that you should look for is the good character. And of course, another thing I want to remind you is that if you want someone of good character, you yourself have to be of good character. So don't think I'm going to marry a husband or wife that, will teach my kids Quran and adab and everything. Yes, you want someone who's going to teach that, but you also have to be someone capable of teaching that. So if you want someone good, if you want someone who's going to raise your kids good, try to yourself to be good, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم لسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.